So it's day 2 of Trans Awareness Week, and with that comes our second manga recommendation. And today we're looking at Love Me for Who I Am by Konayama Kata. This is another fictional story, and it is wonderful because it is not just a story about a trans person, but several trans people and various LGBTQIA plus individuals. So, the story focuses on the main character here on the cover, Mogumo. Mogumo is non-binary. They do present in a more feminine manner, but they're not a girl, they're not a boy. Actually really love, if you look at the cover here, you have all the Mars and Venus symbols in blue and pink, and then the one, like they're made as cookies, and the one Mogumo is eating is white, and you can't see if it's a Mars or Venus symbol because of it. It's really cute. But they get a chance to work at a otokonoko cafe when a boy in their school is like, "Oh hey, I know a bit about these things, a bit about trans stuff. Like my older sibling is a trans woman and runs this cafe. You should come work there." And that's how the story begins. And while Mogumo does not consider themselves an otokonoko, and we will get into what that term means in a little bit, because of them being trans and coming forward about it, other characters also end up coming forward, such as May, who also works at Cafe Question, which is the name of the cafe, and she's a trans girl. And these two are cross-dressing gay boys. I say gay. I don't think they actually specify their sexuality at any point, but they're queer. That's the point. There's also a character you see here, Kotone, who is a closeted lesbian dealing with her own transphobia, mixing in with her fear of men, and trying to overcome that, and seeing Mogumo not just as a non-man but also as a non-woman. It's really interesting. It actually goes into pretty deep subject matter in that regard, and all these characters are given a chance to grow and understand each other. It is the only manga I've seen that actually goes to a pride parade. I believe it's in volume 3 or 4. Mogumo, May, and Kotone end up going to the Tokyo Rainbow Pride, which is every spring in Tokyo, to help Kotone come out as being a lesbian. And it's a wonderful scene, and it's just so positive and nice. That's not to say that it doesn't deal with some harsher subject matter as well. It does deal with anxiety, it does deal with transphobia, homophobia, self-loathing, suicidal thoughts, and self-harm. Lots of serious subject matter. In fact, Volume 4 and the upcoming Volume 5, which releases in a few months, do have some pretty dark stuff. But ultimately, it's a very positive story, and it deals with these subject matters really well. It's a finished story. The 5th volume is the last one. It finished in Japan last year, and 4 of them are out in English, as you can see. It's being localized by Seven Seas, and I don't know exactly who. I haven't looked into who translates it. I'm sorry, I probably should have done that actually, but it's a wonderful book. So let's talk a little bit about the subject matter of the setting, the Otokonoko Cafe. Now, the term Otokonoko, when literally translated, tends to just be stated as male daughter or daughter of man. And as a result, a lot of people misinterpret that to just mean like, oh, this is like cross-dressing men. What it actually is, it's actually a fetish term from Japan's porn industry that started in the late 90s. Like the term started in the late 90s to describe not just cross-dressing men in gay porn, although that was a big part of it, but also trans women. And there's always been plenty of non-binary and trans women part of the otokonoko scene in Japan, and it still is to this day, as we see here with Mei and Mogumo, even though Mogumo doesn't want to go with the label otokonoko, they still, want to work at Cafe Question in the end. They still want to be part of this community in the end, and that's important. The less fetishized terms for these things is yoso, which is essentially female wear or women's wear, and what that is essentially dressing and acting out an idealized feminine persona, which is something that cis men will take part in cross-dress, but also trans women are part of the yoso community and use that to help express themselves. And, gender non-conforming trans men might also want to be part in that, and non-binary people as well, of course. Similarly, danso, which is the male wear or menswear version of this, is, about dressing up and acting out an idealized masculine persona. I'm not a big fan of the term masculine persona, but I do indulge in danso myself, and I attend a lot of danso. I went to a lot of danso bars when I was in Japan, and I have a lot of friends who are into that stuff as well. It's very popular, not just with, again, cross-dressing women, but non-binary people, trans women like myself, and of course trans men who use the danso scene to help establish their own self-image. So these things are a crucial component to the LGBT scene in Japan, and I'm really happy how Konayama Kata captures it through the Otokonoko Cafe Question. I should mention, Konayama Kata, we don't know the author's gender here. The author never specifies their gender, but they do talk about how they learned about non-binary being a thing upon researching LGBT matters when wanting to write the story. Because originally the author, they have mainly been writing gay stories between gay men. In fact, the cross-dressing Cafe Question, or the Otokonoko Cafe Question, actually stems from an earlier doujin that the author made, but they were focused entirely on cross-dressing men. And when researching things for this new serialized sequel, they ended up learning about non-binary people and more about the queer community, and you can really tell that they connected with the community. Now, I don't want to speculate on the author, whether or not the author is non-binary or author is trans or anything like that, but if nothing else, they very much felt deep empathy and took their time to learn things about the LGBT scene, which is wonderful. And honestly, this is one of the best books I have ever read. And yeah, I love this book so much, and I hope you read it. If you haven't read it already, you really should. It is wonderful. It is so queer. It is so positive without being sugar-coated. This is the good stuff. Go read Love Me For Who I Am.